Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. During my first trip to New Zealand, we were walking in the late evening on the streets of this small little town. A group of New Zealanders who had just got inspired were walking with me, and as I was walking on the footpath, being faster than the others, suddenly I stopped. To my horror, I saw a striped snake just in front of me. Being a student of zoology, I could tell that it was one of those very poisonous snakes called as a krait. I stopped, and immediately, to protect the people behind me who were walking very fast, I said, "Stop, stop, there is a snake." One of the New Zealanders, she came forward, laughed straight at my face and said that this is New Zealand. Here we have got no poisonous creatures, not even spiders of Australia. I said, "But I am seeing a snake right in front of me, and it's a very poisonous snake." She said, "There are no poisonous creatures in this maiden land." So I said, "But see, there is a snake." And she even laughed and said, "There are no snakes also." But I was seeing a snake. She came forward, and just as she went towards that snake, suddenly it moved. She screamed. She had never seen a snake before. She didn't think that there could be a snake in New Zealand, but this moved. She jumped with a big scream. Others stood paralyzed. Her husband, who was of Indian origin, went there close and said, "Let me handle it. I am a Shiva devotee," and went and picked up that snake and put it round his neck. His wife, who was a New Zealander, started screaming, "Drop it, drop it, drop it." And he just came in the front and came and put the snake on my neck. I couldn't scream. I had to pretend to be as courageous as he was. And then I turned round to them and held the snake in my hand very proudly like a garland and they were all screaming away. Then he took that from my neck and went towards his wife, who was almost about to run away, and he kept it in her hand, and she also realized that it was neither a poisonous snake, in fact not a snake, but a pajama strip with stripes. When you see something and you don't inquire, we imagine upon it something that we either fear or desire or want. We see it, and because we see it, we think it to be real. For any appearance or an illusion, there has to be a substratum, in this case, a strip of cloth that was striped, that looked like a crate, and in my mind, I imagined it to be a crate, and then thought about the horrors of it striking and the poison that it can spread. All this ran through my mind. She thought there is no poisonous snake, but when it moved in the wind, she thought it was a snake. But he, who could see clearly, was not afraid of it. So even if you're not afraid of a situation, but sometimes that situation can become a problem. But when we inquire into what exactly is the situation or a thing, we believe that anything that we perceive, what we see is real, and what we cannot see is unreal. A blind person may not be able to see the brilliant sun, but that doesn't mean that the sun does not exist, because I do not have the capacity to see it. So this word real and unreal is not very clear to a person, because what we see or perceive, we consider it to be real, and what we cannot see or perceive, we call it as unreal. But a deeper understanding of real and unreal is that that which exists is real, that which does not exist is unreal. A very typical example is given, like the horns of a human being. A human being never has got horns. It is unreal. No one is able to see or has experienced the horns of a human being. I mean, we do like to imagine that some people do have got hidden horns and a tail with an arrow. But the horn of a human being does not exist. At the same time, what we perceive, if we consider it to be real, we see the sky blue in the day, we see it turn into crimson or orange and purple in the evening, and almost black at night. The sky is seen to have colors, but as such, with knowledge, we recognize that the sky does not have any color. The great scientists, the thinkers, the rishis, when they inquired into the nature of things, they realized that everything that you perceive is not real. including that which changes, cannot be real. That which never changes is always what it is, that alone can be called as real. And that whose experience changes in our mind, in our thoughts, cannot be real. And therefore, for our easy understanding, that what we perceive, but its knowledge, its experience, or its perception also changes, that cannot be real. It is just an appearance, an illusion. And that which is an appearance and illusion is not that it is not perceived, but it is not real, and therefore it is called as mithya. But once having determined its nature, when its experience does not change anymore, or that which is, in simple words, changeless. For example, once having discovered that it was a strip of cloth, we recognize that never a time it was a snake. The snake just appeared, and on inquiry, we found it to be a strip of striped cloth, and it is not a snake. Even when you saw it as a snake, or we saw it as a snake, it was still a strip of cloth. The snake vision changed, but the strip of cloth was always the strip of cloth. This is what is called as real. And we have to recognize the difference between an appearance and its substratum, an illusion and its substratum. The substratum always is, but the appearance can change. For me, it was a poisonous snake. For the other, it was a harmless snake. For another one, it was not even a snake, but only one who actually went and picked it up and determined what it is, knows it was always a strip of cloth. This way, if you have understood real and unreal, and simple way of understanding, that which changes, even though perceived, is not what it is. But that which is changeless alone is real. In the path of knowledge and inquiry, which Ramana Maharshi calls as the most direct path, just as an ant, when it has to climb a tree, it has to go through the trunk and even go around the trunk if there are big bark pieces. This is called as the path that the ant takes. It also reaches the top branch. However, when a bird takes a flight, it goes directly to the branch. Therefore, the path of knowledge directly inquires into the reality. And when you know the truth, the reality, the substratum, then the appearance or the illusion disappears. And sometimes, like a mirage, you may be perceiving it, but you're not carried away with it, because you know a mirage, even if it is seen, if you know that it is just the play of two densities of air that creates the illusion of water and reflection in that water. Once you know it, even if you see it, it is not real. In the same way, when we inquire into this mind in which we experience all our likes, dislikes, joys, sorrows, excitements, and our problems, and we are searching for its solution. If you inquire what is the mind, then Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi, like the great masters, says that when you inquire, this is the most direct path, you find that actually there is nothing so solid, real as the mind. Because mind is a continuous flow of thoughts. Not at any moment it remains the same. Further, if you inquire that mind is made of a flow of thoughts, but there are not many thoughts, there are only two types of thoughts. One is the knowledge of this, idam vritti. The thought of I see this table, I see this computer, and this I thought, aham vritti. And this idam vritti, this thought of any object or experience of any object of the world is possible when this thought, I am, is there. Then only its association with the body, I am this body, I am a man, someone is a woman, somebody is young, somebody is old, this I am young, I am old, these association come about. And with that comes all the various projections and experiences. Once we have understood that, then we recognize that this I thought also, which philosophically is called as the ego, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am an engineer, I am a doctor, I am knowledgeable, I am ignorant. This I associated with any of this is philosophically called as an ego, not some type of vanity, etc., which is an expression of ego. When we inquire into this I thought, we see that this I thought is also rising and setting. Its identity is also changing. And when we recognize this, what Bhagavan says is, get to the substratum from where this I thought rises and the I thought sets. Bhagavan says, Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Ayam aham kutaha bhavati. From where does this I thought, this ego arise? From where does it arise? For the one who inquires, chinvataha aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. I means as though effortlessly, like a wonder, this I, this ego that creates for us our whole imaginary world of experience and even the very illusion of the mind, this I, this ego, suddenly just falls off. It's so effortless for one who inquires from where this I thought rises. In fact, from where any thought rises, when you inquire, this ego only dissolves. And what remains is that from which this illusion of this ego, this mind, and the universe rises. It is that effortless. In fact, Ramana Maharshi himself gives in his discourses, wherever little he spoke or question answers, he gives a beautiful example that, as you know, in a wedding party, and especially in India, where plenty of guests are brought to the bride's home from the bridegroom's home to take the bride home. Very often we do not even know whether the guests are from the bride's side or from the bridegroom's side. And occasionally someone enters the household and each one thinks that he or she belongs to the other side of the family, goes around eating, maybe even serving or ordering around. People notice him, but everybody is busy with the celebrations or the activities till when the wedding is over and when they are sitting and just discussing about the wedding, and they start talking about who is this person who was ordering around? Who is this person who was cheerfully talking, dancing, or even celebrating with everybody? The girl side people think that he's from the boy side. The boy side people think he's from the girl side. But when they start inquiring and this person notices that the inquiry has started, suddenly he disappears. In the same way, this ego, I thought, on whom is dependent all the idam vritti, the experience of the world, and with these thoughts is the mind. And since the mind is basically the I thought, or you can say originates its flow from the I thought, this I thought itself has an appearance and a disappearance. You can also see that it keeps on coming with every other thought, or at least in sleep, that I thought is not visible the way we experience it in the waking state. When this I thought we inquire into, wonder of wonder, it just seems to be not there, just disappears. And so does the mind with its problems. Now, when we say it disappears, in sleep also, the mind goes to rest, and through inquiry also, when the mind is in samadhi or meditation, the thoughts seem to cease, and the substratum, that I, is there. And this I is not the I that comes and goes, but on which this I thought is projected. And this wonderful idea is expressed in the next knowledge bit, in the next verse, because we have this fear that I will cease to exist. The illusory I, the ghost of the ego, that trickster, that guest who played the role of the host, disappears. But in the place of this ego, what is discovered is something wonderful. What is that? We shall see in the next session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.